Hello, everyone. If this is your first time here, I am so glad you could join us. Today, I am honored to have an incredible guest on today's episode. Dr. Simone, welcome to the Defining You podcast.
Thank you so much, Helena. It's an honor to be with you today.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's a pleasure to have you on. So let's just dive right into it. Why don't you begin with a brief introduction about yourself and what you
Yes.
do right now?
Yeah, thank you again. It's wonderful to be here with you. I know that your program is all about empowering your audience. So I think already that you're doing fantastic work because we always need some help in that area. So again, I am Dr. Simone Mathieu. I'm an associate professor of psychology in industrial organizational psychology, which is the psychology of work. But my passion also lies in empowering people. So I went on a journey at the end of 2019, and I decided to publish my very first book called Push Past 10. Very interesting topic, right? So I get a lot of questions about why the book is called Push Past 10, but we will delve into it a little bit more as the interview continues. But for now, let me just say that I am originally from the beautiful island of Dominica, which you are from Dominica as well. So it's nice
Absolutely.
to hook up with a fellow Dominican. And I've been in the US for the last 25 years. And my background is essentially the digital space in terms of being an online learning administrator, as well as now being a published author. And I also host 2 radio programs, Facebook Live, YouTube Live. So just trying to get as great a reach as possible to, as I said before, just to empower people, to give them a certain sense of strength, a certain sense of direction, because I think for me, what it boils down to is that so many of us have important life goals that are simply sitting on the shelf. And one of the biggest reasons we find that people do not achieve their life goals is because they're not consistent. So my entire premise is, how do you teach people to be consistent so that they're able to achieve those life goals?
Absolutely wonderful. How does it feel to be on the other side being interviewed?
I like that question. I absolutely like that question. Yes, it is refreshing. I have to tell you, it is refreshing to not have to be the one to create the questions, not have to be the one to create the program, and just be able to lay back and enjoy a conversation.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you feel comfortable on the other side of the microphone. So
Absolutely.
you were talking my language because Defining You is really a space that I've created to bring on incredible women like yourself to share your extraordinary stories so we can help people to, get over your fear, whatever that is, and to really take an opportunity to embrace what it is that you were here for and just do what you love. So thank you so much for that. So my next question to you would be, since you're empowering people and you have experience in psychology and you wrote your book about push past 10, what is your big message to the world?
Oh, yes. So I like to think of it. What I think has been most beneficial to me is to remain open to the universe. So if you have an opportunity to go to my website, which is pushpast10.com, pushpast10.com, the very first thing you will notice is that there is a scrolling topic that says, take the limits off your potential. Because I think so many of us spend so much time talking ourselves out of what we know is our true purpose. And I like the fact that you use that word purpose, because that is what it all boils down to. But so many of us spend so much time talking ourselves out of what we ought to do. Let me give you a simple example, because the whole Push Past 10 journey began because I wanted to lose and keep off 20 pounds, right? And instead of thinking to myself all the reasons I should go to the gym, I would always think to myself, oh my God, I'm so tired. Oh my God, I got to get dressed. Oh my God, I got to deal with these people in the gym who are taking up the treadmill. So you see how that works?
Yes.
So rather than thinking to myself, and what eventually started working for me, because that was the first goal, but it also led to achieving other goals.
Mm.
So what eventually started working for me is using simple little tricks to get myself and keep myself motivated. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, instead of complaining about, oh, I have to get dressed, I'm rushing in the morning. Back then I worked 9 to 5. So I was rushing in the morning trying to get to work. And now I need to find my gym clothes. Get your gym clothes the night before, right? And here's a little secret just between me and you, okay? Nobody else should know this. Sometimes I would literally wear my gym clothes under my pajama.
Oh,
So
wow.
that when I woke up in the morning, I would also just put my work clothes over my gym clothes. So guess what? I was already dressed, right? So now after work, I had no excuse. I could simply just go to the gym, one less thing to think about. So I talk a lot about little steps in the book of how you can keep yourself, what I like to call seamlessly motivated, where you don't make it a big deal. You simply just get it done.
Right. So again, your book, Push Past 10, it really guides your audience or your readers through your weight loss program journey, but through a psychological lens, because it's all about the mind, the power of the mind. Can you tell us more about the book and what you hope readers would get out of that?
Yeah, certainly. But for me, I think it is more of a movement. So it's not just the book. And I think as the audience continues to grow on like Facebook, as a matter of fact, I always like to check the numbers. I have a program coming up today, so I always like to check the numbers before I go on. Our audience now is about 18,200 a month on Facebook. And we've just topped like 30,000 views on Push Past 10 on YouTube. And I think what I'm starting to realize is that there is so much power in community, right? Because I may have figured out a way to stay consistent, but you may have an idea as well that would work for our community. So it is all about bringing that synergy together as a community to see what works for you, what works for the other person. But to get back to the book, some of the things that I include, how to stay motivated, how to not get distracted, the power of no. Because the other thing that the book has done, when you write a book, the next step is to get the book promoted so you can sell the book, right? And it just created this whole other journey for me, where I realized that, first of all, any journey that you're going on, a lot of times it is only important to you, right? So other people might be successful initially, but as the days and the months go along, people get busy with their own stuff, their own responsibilities. And now what you find is you're alone. So here you are reaching out to other people. Many times people will say no, they will outright just not respond to you. So I'm not sure if you've had that experience yet as a podcaster, where you've reached out to people and you sit and you wait and all you hear are crickets. So I think what is important as we talk about goals and as we talk about journeys is to be so comfortable with the word no. Be so comfortable with the rejection, because I want our audience to think of all of this as that is what is directing you. And let me give you a quick example of that. When I started this journey back in 2019, I actually published the book January 1st, 2020. Woo! Was I excited? Then what happened March of 2020? COVID. I had already started the process of going to conferences, started the process of going to, church seminars to promote the book. And then COVID shut down everything. So then I had to turn, so that's the no, right? COVID shut down everything. I can no longer go to these conferences. But guess what it did? It redirected me. So I want people to always think that a no and a rejection, because it is painful. It is painful to be rejected. But think of it as this is the universe redirecting you to a different path, to different people that can help you to reach a different audience. Because I think for many people that these are the two major problems, the being inconsistent and what to do when people reject you, and you sit in that hurt and that pain,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not sure what to do next, because here you are, you think you have this brilliant idea, but the world doesn't agree with you. It
Mm-hmm.
has to redirect you.
Mm-hmm. I think you're onto something here. And I think one of the things I've learned to work out for my own self, it's okay for people to say no. It's okay for you also to say no as well. No is a powerful tool. It's not necessarily a negative tool. It's a powerful tool. And how you decide to move forward from that no will determine how well you can handle yourself in terms of where you want to go and really understanding what your purpose is. And I asked you the question earlier about the psychological principle because I know you use that as a way for you to keep a certain amount of weight off. The thing I was really aiming at was you could use those principles in other areas. A lot of our listeners are preparing for that defining moment, that big pivot, and they might be thinking about quitting their jobs or starting something new, applying for a big promotion, or just going to a different company. You know, people have the option today of changing jobs because it's almost like there's a luxury. People can switch jobs now because of COVID and all of what has transpired. But certain fears may be holding some people back. How would you advise them to navigate through those goals so they can accomplish them sooner?
Right, right. And that is a very good question. So thanks for asking it. I think it is the power of relationships, right? Because I am not going to sit there and say to you, quit your job. You have responsibilities. You have no backup plan. I'm not gonna be the one to give you that piece of advice. If somebody else has given it to you and you want to follow that advice, you can do that. But I am not going to give you. But what I think I have found in my journey is the power of relationships. So many times we speak of networking, and I think we're using the wrong terminology. Because think of it, when you think of networking, what comes to your mind, right? You're in a room, you don't notice people, you have a little name tag, you go up, you introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Simone, I am in psychology. And then what is the conversation? So it's not very authentic. But the power of nurturing relationships. So let's say you're in accounting, but you really want to pursue music, you really want to pursue art, right? So you have to bridge that divide. Don't just quit your job and start from the beginning. Start building relationships with folks who are in the music industry, folks that are in the art world. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, there's so many communities now where we have the ability to be able to reach like-minded people. So go in there, let them know your intentions, let them know what you're thinking of doing, and most people are more than willing to help you to navigate the beginning part of the journey. And it's so interesting that even random strangers will offer you advice. I've joined several, Facebook groups, and that is what I found. In the beginning, I was struggling. I wasn't sure how I was going to continue promoting my books. And then I realized that there were people who had brilliant ideas. And so I continued to join more groups. So I think what we're saying now is that we're no longer restricted by our physical space.
Nice.
We are no longer restricted by where we are physically. There's a whole world of people who are thinking of doing or have already done exactly what you're thinking of doing. So don't just jump into the deep end of the pool all by yourself. Take a couple of friends with you and let's swim together until you get to the other side of the pool.
I'm asking this question because I have these questions come up to me all the time. The premise of the show about people having skills and having really good ideas of things that they know that they already can do, and just having that fear of not knowing how to take that first step. So there are people who want to start a side hustle, and that's where that premise came from. So what you say makes sense. Building relationships and finding people who do the things that you want to get into, and understanding, reaching out and talking, and just maybe you shadow some people or just have a conversation. And I think that could lead to so many different things in terms of giving you ideas of how to pursue where you want to end up.
Right. Too many people believe in that whole concept, rebel without a cause. I don't know if you ever saw the video where the flight attendant quit the job and he did this dramatic thing where he opened the door and he threw the emergency landing out and he flipped off. And no, I'm not a fan.
Well, I guess, everybody do things in the way that work for them, because you certainly have to do what works for you. So some people, it might work for some people, it may not work for them, but I think you have to find out what works for you. So I understand.
Right? If that works for you, go for it.
So again, you've done some really amazing work and you're also promoting Dominica's culture. Tell us why it is so important to you to stay connected with your home country.
The simple answer to this is because I firmly, and that is at the core of everything that I do, I firmly believe that your strength comes from your identity, right? It is the challenges, it is how you grew up in Dominica. If you and I did not grow up in Dominica, we would not be the people we are today.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Your strength comes from your identity. So all the challenges we may have faced growing up in Dominica, I'm not sure how diverse your audience is, but Dominica is a tiny island in the middle of the Caribbean. It's like a speck on the world map. You could barely see us. And we had incredible challenges. We don't have the economic opportunities a lot of folks enjoy here. Many of us have challenges simply being able to come to the States to go to school, to gain employment. So we go through all of that. But those challenges, they fortify us, right? They show us what we are able to achieve, what we're able to overcome if we are willing to persevere, right? So the fact that you've already overcome those challenges, it means that you are able to overcome any challenge. So I firmly believe that if you can tap into, and I don't want to get too much into ancestry, but if you can tap into the strength of those ancestors that came before you, a lot of us were African and Kalinago, Indian in Dominica. If you can tap into the strength of what your ancestors faced, what you faced, then it gives you the strength to be able to accomplish anything.
Absolutely. I believe where you come from sets your foundation. And I would probably just say about Dominica and the people who come from Dominica, we are a resilient people. We may come a very small island. And I just have to say, just give you the example of Dame Mary Eugenia Charles. You can look her up. And that was one strong Caribbean woman. She traveled the world, and whenever she traveled, she made a mark. She was from a small island, but when she got in the circles of the world leaders, she was on the same level as them. So Dominicans are a powerful force, and we may have had a lot more challenges than some, but don't let that fool you.
Very happy that you brought up Dame Eugenia Charles, because I think one of the benefits you and I had as girls growing up in Dominica was that we grew up with a prime minister who was female.
Right, and she was probably only female Caribbean prime minister, also the first lawyer for the island of Dominica. So we had women in powerful roles that showed us we too can also be and aspire to those roles. Dominicans are very well educated, and wherever we go, we make a mark on wherever we go. So I want to also thank you so much for keeping that culture alive. And I like the way you promote everything Dominica, and I just want to say continue
because I think a lot of times people see me doing different things, but they don't realize in my mind it's all connected. They might just be thinking, it's just entertainment, or it's just promoting somebody or promoting a product or something. But in my mind, it is all connected, and it all boils down to who we identify with.
Right. So we are coming down to the end, and I want to get this in. What is some advice you could give to our listeners who want to contribute to their home countries, but feel like they're too far away to make an impact?
We have such a wonderful benefit called technology. Right. So here we are. I'm in Georgia. I'm not sure where you're located.
I'm in Boston, Massachusetts.
You're in Boston. So look at how we're able to connect.
Right.
And over the year and a half that I've been doing the programs that I do, I mean, I've had people reach out to me from Austria, from Africa, from South America. And that is one of the things that I recently started promoting, because I'm sure you're familiar with the idea of the brain drain that the Caribbean has experienced.
Yes.
Where all the intellects have migrated to the US for better opportunities. So now what I'm working on, my latest project, is a reversal of the brain drain in the Caribbean to the brain gain. Because there is no reason why someone like you who is in communication in healthcare cannot mentor somebody in Dominica, in any of the Caribbean islands, in a different state, another country, another part of the world, because of the benefit that technology now affords us.
Yes.
So I want anyone who's listening to this program and has an idea to think of, how can you leverage technology? How can you leverage those relationships that you fostered over the years? And one other thing I wanted to also mention to you, which is super important, is the importance of knowing who you are. Right? So I, for one, I know social media can be a beast, because many times people are chasing the views, they're chasing the likes, and they're willing to do just about anything to get those views and the likes. So you have to maintain your integrity, but you also have to know who you are. And many people don't realize it, but at my core, I'm an introvert. So many people.
Well, you know what? I remember.
I think it means you're shy, and it doesn't.
Right. So I remember that about you. I remember you were not an extrovert. And I am seeing you today. I remember talking to someone. I'm like, oh my goodness, I know her to be so quiet. And now look at her own YouTube show, her Facebook Live, and
two radio shows. And people think there is
Yes.
no way. They don't believe it, because being an introvert does not mean that you're shy. It simply means you spend a lot of time in your own head, thinking of your ideas. So when you come out, a lot of it is quality content that you're able to create. So knowing yourself, knowing what motivates you internally. So three things I want to leave with your listeners, right? Number one, know yourself. What motivates you? Number two, what are those relationships that you can foster to take you from where you are to where you want to go? And number three, be open to the universe. When I studied in psychology, if anyone had come along and said, well, you're going to be an author, you're going to host 2 radio shows, you're going to have this huge following on Facebook and YouTube, I would have said to them, you're crazy.
You know, the one thing you were talking about, being an introvert, it's okay to be an introvert, because there's room for extroverts and there's room for introverts. The fact that you have the knowledge and you are an expert in your field, as long as you have that information at your fingertip, and you talk about using social media, you are talking about something that you're familiar with. That takes away everything in terms of being shy and just, diving right into what you know and sharing what you know, because you have that energy in you where you want to build and you want to uplift and you want to empower. I had an HR professional who I interviewed, and she kept saying how much she's an introvert, but then working with her, I didn't see that, but I am also an introvert, and I know people might not believe that, but there are times when I like those moments. I want that Helena time. So when people say that, I don't think, they are making it up, because I have experienced it myself. I've had people that I've spoken with that have said that many times. You can be an introvert and still be out there doing your thing, because you're an expert in that area, and it's easy for you to share that knowledge.
Like after this program, I'm just gonna crash for an hour, because now I gotta
you gotta
I gotta rejuvenate.
Exactly.
Right.
So I asked this question to all of my guests. What is one thing about you that people would be surprised to know?
Well, I think I just answered that, that I'm an introvert, because I think people associate being introverted with being shy.
And there's an element of shyness, but
not for me. I want to disabuse people of that concept.
Yeah.
A famous introvert, I think it was either Rudy Giuliani or one of the mayors of New York City. And he is a hardcore introvert, but he is out in the public. So the point of this is to find your strengths right? So being an introvert means I believe in preparation. So I will spend a lot of time like preparing for an interview, preparing a program, because I know that I want to make sure that when, first of all, I'm not stumbling for my words, because, you have to hand it to the extroverts. They're like word masters. They can just roll with the conversation. Me, I got to script it out, because I know that because I get so locked into my own mind, I may forget what I'm trying to say to the audience. So the point of this is to know yourself, to know what works best for you. Absolutely. As you go along the mission of accomplishing your purpose.
Absolutely. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, the best place to reach me is my website, pushpast10.com, pushpast10.com. It will take you through, who I am, the work that I'm doing, but it will also take you, to the YouTube channel where you can see the interviews that we do, the programming that we do, and just kind of be a source of upliftment. Because one of the reasons I started the program is because I just found like the content on Facebook was just lacking. It was all about showing pictures of people's food, people's journey, people's cats. And I'm like, can't we use this social media platform for a little bit more in-depth conversation?
Well, that's where you come in. I think social media is vast and we can use it for so many different things. Right. You came in and you saw a need and you're fulfilling that need. Somebody else will come and they'll be a photographer and they'll show all kinds of things. We have to understand the value in what social media presents to us and use that to our advantage. And I guess you have to teach that. I have to teach that. And if we can use those platforms to uplift people, to share with people, and to really have people understand your foundation is important to who you will become, I think that's a great tool.
And I like how you put that, because it's not saying that one is better than the other. It's simply saying that the variety is what's important. So if you want to decompress, you want to spend a couple of hours just watching cats play on social media, that's fine as well.
It's a medium for different things.
Yes. So, but I also found the need that people were craving, people in our age range at least, was just craving.
What are you talking about? Oh, age range. I think you have found a niche. I have found a niche, and there's room for everyone. And so I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate all that you do and wish you so much more success in helping those who need the kind of programming that you produce on your social media platform, for your website, for your books, and for the talks that you do. Thank you so much. I just want to wish you the very best.